get a total of 18 from us. And then and they get a total of 15 points, or they can get a total of 15 points, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, so it'd be 30.
For 30, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Sorry. I was thinking 3 times 15. Not, well, no, not even, no, it's 45, right? 5, 10,
10,
15.
15. 15 plus 15 is 30, right? For both of us. See, I was thinking 20. I was thinking each was, I don't know. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Tell me, darling, could we run away? We could hide away by the cactus desert blue. I can see it just a mile away from this crowded place.
Hey friends, welcome back to our channel, Best Freaking Friends Forever. So this is it, guys, the battle of the boy bands. So we're going to start with Backstreet Boys and NSync today. So we're going to talk about Backstreet Boys first. So they had the members are Brian Luttrell, Kevin Richardson, Nick Carter, Howie Dorough, and AJ McLean. And they were formed in Florida in 1993. And they became a band then.
Their records, their albums.
Oh, yeah. So they had Backstreet Boys. That was their first record. Backstreet Boys Backstreet's Back, Millennium, Black and Blue, Never Gone, Unbreakable, This Is Us, and A World Like This. And now in 2019, they had DNA.
Yep. They've done pretty well for themselves.
Well, they've continued to tour and continued to make music.
Mm-hmm. Well, they toured in Europe for most of it for 3 years, and then like towards the end of that, they came to Canada, and then it kind of rolled over into the U.S. So they didn't really make it big for 3 years, like over here anyway. They toured in Europe for a while, and their first, they signed with Jive Records, and that first song was "We've Got It Going On." Mm-hmm. So them and NSYNC have a lot in common. They signed with the same guy, which was that Lou Pearlman, and I guess we'll get into them after we'll get into that situation after we talk about NSYNC. But the album that we listened to for today was Millennium. That was their #1 album, the best selling. And in the first week, they made $1.1 million. It was released May 18th of 1999.
October of 1998 through March of 99. So that's how long it took them to make it.
Brian he had heart surgery. I didn't get into all of that, but I saw where he had that. And then him and Kevin are cousins. Kevin first came with the band, and then he said, well, why don't we ask my cousin? And I was looking at their ages when they all came together. I didn't get Brian's age, but they were 12, 14, 19, and 20. And I'm thinking, as a parent, what parent lets their 12-year-old tour with a 20-year-old?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they weren't just going, 2 states over. They were going,
across the world.
Europe. Yeah, they were going overseas.
Yeah, no. I have a 12-year-old, and there's no way. Now if I was there, like, you go to work, I'll, hang out while you're at work, and then we'll go home together, or the hotel or whatever. Like, I would do that, but you would not be going to parties with these boys. You would,
right.
If they wanted to hang out and go to the arcade, or, because that's what 12-year-olds do, or if they wanted to go to dinner together, like, yes, I would be somewhat of a supervisor, but no, that's crazy to me. I mean, now that age difference doesn't matter. As you get older, that age gap seems to get smaller. But when you're young like that, 12 is such an influential age. And for a 20-year-old, which nothing against Kevin and Brian, because I personally thought they were the cutest out of the bunch. Yep. So the album as a whole, we rated, so how we scored everybody is we did their album, we scored 1 through 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. We did their albums, their music videos, and Heartthrob. And which, who did you have on your wall type of thing? Like, who did you swoon over? And then, of course, we picked our favorite song. So their album, I personally did not like. it was one where, and I feel like with almost everybody that we do this week, I feel like I was listening to the same song over and over. Every time I went to the next one, I felt like I was listening to the one before. So that's why I didn't care for their album, and I gave them a 2.
I also gave them a 2. I don't know, because I've been a Backstreet Boys fan, and just this particular album, only, I don't know, it had 2 really catchy songs on it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, anyway.
Yeah, and then
So,
it was just like a
yeah.
snooze after that. I felt like, sorry, Backstreet Boy fans.
Yes.
That's just how it is for me, in my opinion. We can agree to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Their music videos were so-so. I mean, they weren't good, they weren't bad. I don't know. That's how I felt. So I gave them a 3.
Yep, that's what I did. I gave them a 3 as well.
Yeah, and then their heartthrob, yeah, Kevin and Brian did it for me, so I gave them a 4.
I also gave them a 4. I liked AJ too. I don't know. I guess the bad boy vibe.
Yeah. I don't know. Kevin's just got that just that jawline and like cheekbones. Like he's just got that model look. He's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brian, I don't know why, he's just always reminded me of Marky Mark.
Yeah, I mean he was my favorite really in the group.
Yeah, because
But
they're cousins, but they don't look related.
no, they really don't.
We'll go with NSYNC because once we get them done, we can go into kind of what all he had to do with them.
Yeah.
So NSYNC, do you want to give the list of names and all that?
Yeah, okay. So its members was Justin Timberlake, Joey Fatone, Chris Kirkpatrick, Lance Bass, and JC Chazez. And they formed also in Florida, I think. I know not Lance, he wasn't there first. But they were formed by Jive Records. They also went under Jive Records as well. And I don't really have anything else on like just their background other than they were formed in Florida.
Yeah, they started in 95 and they didn't make it big until 98. So that was another 3-year gap there where it took them a little bit of time to come around. But I boy band, what they kept saying, bubblegum songs.
Well, and the boy band, it was literally the 90s, the beginning of the 90s was boy band like craze central. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, think of all the boy bands that we had during that time, all at the same time.
Yeah. So No Strings album, that's the one. No Strings Attached is the album. That's the one we went off of and scored and everything. It came out in March 21st, 2000. So this was kind of a battle with Backstreet Boys because they were like, what are we going to do better than them? And this was the album that was going to beat them. Like they were kind of anticipating to do better. So they were worried that first week, but they didn't need to worry once the first day came along because they sold $1.2 million in the first day on that album. And then the first week, so first day off the bat, they beat them. And then the first week they made 2.4 million.
And they held that record for first week sales for 15 years until Adele, her 24 album, or 25, is it 25? Is that what they called it? Her 25 album. And then that beat them. But it took 15 years for someone to beat that record.
Isn't that crazy, especially like with like I know this is really close to now, because this is only 20 years ago. That's fairly close, but it just seems odd to me this is such a low number to hit. 1.2 nowadays, you know what I mean? Like 1.2, 2.4 million, that's not, especially like, I don't know, but maybe the music industry is a little different because I'm thinking like with movies and stuff, I mean, they make this stuff in a weekend. No, don't even bat an eye.
Well, and I guess back in that time, this was when LimeWire and Napster were coming out.
Oh,
so
okay.
You had those sharing things too. Yeah, that they had to not necessarily fight against, but that was something they had to think about.
Well, that was a big issue, and maybe one day we can talk about that. That would be kind of cool to talk about how they kind of hurt people, hurt these artists and stuff.
Yep. Because that was the beginning of that.
Yeah. I don't think I said my favorite one on Millennium was The One. I liked that song. One Millennium. This one, I didn't have a favorite song on this album, No Strings Attached. Overall, though, Tearing Up My Heart, man, that's a good song. And I spent like half of my research, I feel like, listening to covers of that song, because just go on YouTube and type in Tearing Up My Heart cover, and there's just a list of different bands that covered this. They got like R&B, rock, and they're just fun. I like them. The song is good. I feel like that song had a lot of potential, and I'm sorry, I don't think NSYNC did that song justice. I found other bands that did that song way more justice than NSYNC did. But it's good. I mean, they're the original creators of it, so they get the credit. But that one, out of all of their songs, that song is still stuck in my head right now. So I just like it.
See, that's me with like, That's When I'll Stop Loving You. And I don't feel like, I mean, I don't remember back in the day it getting a lot of airplay. I don't even think they made a music video for it. It wasn't one of their singles from that album. Like Bye Bye Bye, I'll Never Stop, It's Gonna Be Me, and This I Promise You were their singles. And I mean, I don't know. I just like That's When I'll Stop Loving You.
So Pearlman was kind of the reason why these boy bands got up and going, and I don't even know where to start with that story because
Yeah, but you can't mention boy bands and not talk about him because he pretty much created all of them. I mean, helped. He had his hands in it.
yeah. Well, he was I guess his big thing was planes. Like that's kind of where he went. He went that route because like him and a childhood friend were big into airplanes, and then he somehow got word of like boy bands kind of making it big, and he's like, well, I'm in the wrong business. So he puts together Backstreet Boys, and then eventually puts NSYNC together, and that he had them at each other, kind of. So I guess he would go over here and tell Backstreet Boys, I can't get over NSYNC, like how they treat me, they don't listen, this and this and this, and say all these things, and then go over into the other side and do this exact same thing. And like NSYNC said, no wonder they hated us. I would hate us too, if that was going on. And so NSYNC said that they were always, so it sounded more like he kind of played Backstreet Boys more as a bully, because NSYNC said that they always, when they were around them, they always were like, are they going to be mad at us? Are they going to yell at us? Like they were always kind of on eggshells around them, and they didn't need to be. He just pinned them against each other.
Yep. And I don't know why he would do that. You would think, because to me, you could have them. I mean, if you know they're going to be too big, yes, you can have them tour together or have them, work and do things together, collaborate, and really.
Can you imagine if that would have happened like at this time, and they put an album together, even just one song, people would have went nuts.
Well, I mean, and we'll talk about these bands later this week, but look at New Kids and Backstreet Boys. Look at what they've done today, touring together. People are obsessed. I mean, people love they love New Kids, so they go see, and they kind of like Backstreet Boys, that was a smart marketing move on both of those bands to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even just, I mean, they didn't even collaborate on a song; they've just toured together.
Right.
That's all. Yeah. And I mean, look at how they're, that's kind of revived both of them.
Yeah. I think that like you could have battled these two, but in a fun way. So like NSYNC do a Backstreet song and Backstreet do an NSYNC song, and like who did it better, and just kind of have fun with it. Like they could have had fun with this, but I don't know. It was like, from what I gathered, he was the type of person that he wanted everybody to like him, and he was really into money. And I guess those two things mixed together for him was just, he had a rough time. And NSYNC all they asked was, please, like, let's redo our contract. Because what it was is he was called the sixth member. Mm-hmm. And they took him to court because they were like, no, you don't. He was using all of their money. So they would go out to eat, they stayed in hotels, all of that. And he wasn't using his share to pay for that. He was using their shares, and the band was actually in debt. And yeah, they found, I think, was it JC's they had a lawyer, and I think his uncle or something had come in and looked this over, and he's like, man, this is the worst contract I had ever seen.
Yeah, they had a bunch of their family members just come in and look, and they highlighted and they, what they could possibly do to fix this. Because I think what all brought it into focus for them was when he sat them down at a big dinner and they were going to get their first check.
Yes, I forgot about that.
And they sat, he's handing out the checks, and, Lance talked about this. He opened it and it was only $10,000. And they had like been working their tails off for a good while. I mean, rehearsing and doing all these shows and, all this stuff. And here they thought they were going to make, at least a decent amount of money. And then you sit there and you have $10,000 and that's it for all that time that you put in. All that. I mean, they were rehearsing 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, they were working their tails off for this, and to only get $10,000
right
at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, well, and up until that point, I kept thinking, well, everything, all their housing and stuff, like all their living needs were taken care of, like security, that costs money, their hotels, their food, their travel, all that adds up. But what made me bad about the situation, because I kept thinking, well, $10,000, I don't know, like, you never had to worry about a thing. Everything was, I'm sure their clothes were paid for and all that. But then what made me mad is he was taking their share, and in the contract, he's allowed to do that. He took their share and used it, and he was allowed to. And I thought, there's a whole documentary on this, like, I thought it was funny, the court, like, they went to court for this, and so Lou Pearlman kept saying, well, I'm the sixth member, I am NSync, and she goes, so you're going to tell me, this is what the judge said, you're going to tell me that this poster on my daughter's wall, and you're supposed to be NSync? She was like, no, and she granted them, what they wanted.
Yeah, she let them out of the contract.
Yeah. And then this album was kind of like, this was the No Strings Attached album was their first one after Lou. After they tied, No Strings Attached, after they cut the string.
Well, they were in a cab, and I forget where they were, but they were talking about the whole situation and talking about, getting a new album together and doing what they should name it. And I think it was Chris that said something about one of them said something about no strings, and that's where they came up with they were talking about Pinocchio and like the puppeteer, with the strings, and that's how that came, No Strings Attached. That's how they came up with the name of the album.
Yeah. Well, and then you could tell that, especially because NSYNC members were kind of in that video more so, right? I don't think, was there any Backstreet Boys in it? I can't remember.
AJ was, and Lance was, and JC was for NSYNC. They both talked about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and you could tell that they were really hurt, and I get that. Like, I mean, he was like a parent to them. Like, could you imagine, you're living with this person, and they're doing all these great things for you. They're boasting you, and just on and on and on, and then to find out that behind the scenes, he did not value you the way he did to your face. And, and like one of them said, how, this is the person that, I mean, he made them, and they know that. And they said, but how do, it's like, just a weird position to be in, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
You got this person that made you, created you, helped you, like, you thought they were really there for you. And then, I don't know, like, he turned on them like a snake when they said, like, they just wanted the contract rewrite it, basically. And he was not having it. And I don't know, like, was he afraid that he was going to lose money? I don't think the boys would have done that. I don't think they would have. I think that they would have said, you want to be the sixth member? That's fine, but you can't spend our money. That's our money.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but for some reason, it's like in his head, he heard, and I mean, I think that's a thing. Like, he heard in his head something totally different. Like, oh, these boys don't like me anymore. Well, no, they were going to, I feel like they would have forgiven him.
Well, you can tell that just how they talked about him, especially when they had found out that he had passed. Mm-hmm. Like, you could tell that they were torn on how to feel. Like, they weren't sure they just weren't sure how to feel when they had found out.
Right. Well, I mean, it sounded like they had really good memories with him, because they kept saying how he emphasized family. We're a family. We eat family dinners together. So yeah, I mean, it would be hard. I mean, you said, That'd be hard, just to find out that you were being deceived the whole time.
And the crazy thing to me is why fans kept going to him. After hearing all this that he had done to them, they still flocked to him.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
I
Well,
don't understand that.
I mean, I kind of get it, because there was one girl that was on that video, and she had took the contract, and they said this will be career suicide, and she did it anyway. But if your name's attached to him, oh, you're with Lou Pearlman, you know, and you start going and making different things and going to different venues, and, you know, you're attached to Lou Pearlman, you probably have a better chance of getting that venue than not being with him. So I kind of get it. Who the winner is. So,
well, did we say how we scored NSync? Did we say how we scored them?
Yes. Yeah.
Music. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So for Backstreet Boys, I scored them with a 9, and you scored them with.
I also scored them with a 9.
Yeah. So they get a total of 18 from us, and then and they get a total of 15 points, or they can get a total of 15 points, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. So it'd be 30.
30. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Sorry. I was thinking 3 times 15. Not even. No, it's 45, right? 5, 10, 15.
15. 15 plus 15 is 30, right? For both of us. See, I was thinking 20. I was thinking each was, I don't know. Sorry, guys. Yeah. Look at this.
Oh, man.
Leave it to us. And listen, and I'm a teacher. This is not good. I can't do math.
I went all the way up to trigonometry, so.
Oh, trig.
All the way up to it, so that's bad. This is bad. Okay.
Okay, so Backstreet Boys got an 18 from us. Okay, 18 out of 30.
8, yes. Okay, and so NSYNC, I scored them with an 8.
See, I gave them an 11. They were pretty, because I loved I gave them a 4 on their album and a 4 on their music videos and a 3 on their heartthrob. So I gave them an 11.
Yeah. Well, and whenever we were listening to this and stuff, I texted Shelley. I was like, if you ever want to torture me, play Backstreet Boy.
Well, and I think and I know, like I said, I never thought I'd be a Backstreet or NSYNC, because I mean, I liked both of them, and it wasn't like I picked one over the other, but I found myself listening to Backstreet Boys more than I did NSYNC. And after listening to both albums, I'm kind of like, man, like, I don't know, I just felt like we talked about that their lyrics I thought they were better. I thought the songs were a little more different. They were better. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's kind of, I think they came out to prove something. Like, I think for them, this was a very cathartic record for them to make.
Yes.
And I think this was kind of their way of, NSYNC's way of being, okay, we got this. Like, we can do this without him.
Yes. Right. Yep. Okay. I agree. All right. So I gave them an 8. Shelley gave them a 9, and that gives them a total of 19. And so the winner of this battle is NSYNC.
Yes. Ding, ding. They won out of this one. So, yeah, I don't know.
All right, guys. Well, so for the next video, we are going to do 98 Degrees and New Kids on the Block. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking our video. And until next time, that's it in a nutshell.